välkomna till Kungliga Tennishallen och kvartsfinal torsdagens fortsättning av Stockholm Open 2021. En hel del har redan bänkat sig runt centerkorten och i övriga området. Ta er gärna hit, för det är inte många minuter kvar nu innan vi ska presentera en av tennisens allra största spelare under 2000-talet. Andy Murray kommer upp här om en liten stund för att spela kvartsfinal mot amerikanen Tommy Paul. Murray som imponerade stort igår när han besegrade första sidan italienaren Jannik Sinner i en riktigt kraftig drabbning. Och se om han har orkat ladda om. Han har gjort en fantastisk comeback för sin höftskada och på väg uppåt igen, 34 år ung. Andy Murray, en levande legend. Den matchen startar oss under klockan 18 och därefter så kommer titelförsvararen i turneringen upp. Dennis Shapovalov, tredje sidan kanadensare, möter fransmannen Arthur Rinderknecht. Jag vill också passa på att göra reklam för herrdubbeln som avgörs på bana 1. Kika där om ni har vägarna förbi bortåt dit. Senare under kvällen blir det svenskt i form av Robert Lindstedt. Veteranen som hänger i igen tillsammans med André Göransson i par ikväll mot mexikanen González och argentinaren Monteni för en plats i semifinal. Där är för övrigt redan Marcus Eriksson tillsammans med Elias Ymer som vann sin kvartsfinal tidigare idag mot Martínez Spanien och Cavastori från Italien. Men alldeles strax alltså Tommy Paul mot Andy Murray här på centerkorten. Välkomna hit och ha en fantastisk tenniskväll. Då har det blivit dags för den tredje singelkvartsfinalen i Stockholm Open 2021. Välkomna nu in 52 på världsrankingen. 24 år gammal från Voorhees i New Jersey, men uppvuxen i North Carolina. Från USA, här är Tommy Paul!
A very good evening, welcome back to Stockholm and the fifth day of our coverage of the Stockholm Open. And by close of play at this evening session that we're about to bring you, we will know the four semi-finalists to do battle on Friday. Here comes Tommy Paul of the United States, 24 years of age, who broke into the world's top 50 in the summer. Plays here at 52, and he's facing the former world number one and three times Grand Slam champion. Here is the reception for the 34-year-old who produced a stunning performance by his reckoning, his finest of the year, to defeat the top seed Jannik Sinner of Italy, who of course himself has had an outstanding year, but Murray got the better of the 20-year-old in straight sets and played a very high level of tennis in the process. So this is going to be fascinating. Can Murray back up that victory with another one here against the informed Tommy Paul one day after that tremendous win? And of course, when you factor in, Candy Reid, the issues that Murray has had physically, that I guess is the next challenge for him, to string these victories together.
Well, absolutely. He's looking for some consistency, and that's why he's been playing back to back to back. I think most of us have been quite surprised how many tournaments he has played, because he's been on court an awful long time in each of his matches, but he hasn't gone too far, so he's had some time to recuperate before the next tournament. But you're right, he's coming off what he calls his best win of the season, a win over Jannik Sinner, the number one here. But this is going to be an absolute baseline battle.
Arno Gabas, the umpire for this one.
The closer ones, okay, and the further ones for you, Tommy, for the towel boxes. Yeah, it's okay. All right, shot clock, both sides of the court, 25 seconds between points. Please use it. It's a good help for you guys. We're expecting full house, which is great. However, it might be very noisy, so if it's annoying you before starting the point, please look at me, all right? And I make some announcements, and we have Hawkeye on this course, so please use the voice loud and clear if you want a challenge, all right? Any questions from your side? No? Tommy, we got ATP Tour here, or the world?
World.
World, this one for him, ATP Tour for you, Andy. Have to do it again. This is the world. Receive. You stay. Have a good match.
So the American elects, having won the toss, to receive the Andy Murray serve, and we'll get the warm-up underway. Our third quarter-final of the day. We've already seen victories for Francis Tiafoe, coming from a set down to beat Dan Evans, the fourth seed, and for Felix Auger-Aliassime, the number 2 seed, over Botic van der Zandschulp of the Netherlands. This is a reminder of the draw. Tiafoe to play the winner of this one in the semi-finals tomorrow. Auger-Aliassime to face the winner of our final match, which follows this one between Arthur Rinderknecht and Denis Shapovalov, the defending Stockholm Open champion from 2 years ago, the number 3 seed. Of course, this tournament unable to be staged last year because of the COVID situation. So the warm-up is underway, and this is going to be fascinating. Andy Murray, 34 years of age, 46 tour titles, most recently a couple of years ago in Antwerp. 3 Grand Slams, of course, a Davis Cup, 2 Olympic golds. What a career he has had, put into the context of the era he's played in, Candy. Over
£60 million or dollars in the bank, 4 children at home, but he still absolutely loves this game and he wants more. He said to the world that he wants to get back inside the top 10, and he's certainly going the right way about it. And I think you're right, just trying to find some consistency here. He wants to go deep in these tournaments. This is a 250, but it's playing like a 500 because the draw has just been unbelievable. And he's taken out one big name. This is another challenge. Taylor Fritz, of course, was the seeded player in this part, but Tommy Paul overcame his good friend. So it's another challenge for Murray, and it's going to be a tricky one. But there's that win over Sinner, and it was a 2-hour, 15-minute affair overall. He's been on court almost 4 hours. that first set, the tiebreaker against Sinner, 74 minutes in itself. He works hard, he tries hard, he's just incredible.
And it was very noticeable the way in which he was keyed up for last night's match. He raised his level substantially from his victory over Viktor Jurasovic. The second set of which got a bit awkward for Murray, but you could just tell he was keyed up to put one over on the youngster, who of course he knows well. They've practiced together this year. But for Tommy Paul, well, it's been a terrific year for him, hasn't it, Candy, to break into the world's top 50, and he proved against Taylor Fritz. You know, he's got some firepower to bring to the court.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a good group of Americans coming up now. A few in John Isner and Sam Querrey, a bit older, and a few Sebastian Korda and Riley Apelka, and the group below. So there's a lot of pressure sort of on the middle group, and they've come to the fore. Tommy Paul, Taylor Fritz, amongst two of them, and they're just trying to make a name for themselves, trying to get inside the top 50. He's had a win over Alex Zverev this year, has Tommy Paul, and that big one over Fritz. And look at that, 3 sets, winning by 6 games to 4. One of them against Leo Borg, the 18-year-old son of Bjorn Borg, was pretty routine, but you could sense Tommy Paul was feeling the occasion a bit. That was the beginning match of this wonderful tournament.
Yes, and of course Fritz is now the American #1, so it was an impressive win, a win to avenge his loss in St. Petersburg to Fritz just a couple of weeks ago, and he was asked about the prospect of playing either Jannik Sinner or Taylor Fritz afterwards, and he said, well, one's a legend and one's going to be a legend, so can't wait. And of course he was referring in the former tense to Murray, and of course this is their first meeting. So it's a big occasion for Tommy Paul, the chance to play one of the finest players of the last 15 years or so. Can Murray replicate the level he produced yesterday? He's certainly very, very buoyant, isn't he, in his comments at the moment, Murray? He says that he's proved to himself that he can now get back to the top of the game.
Well, there's the applause for the former world #1, and quite clearly he can. The results have come in the last 4 months. He's beaten the likes of Hubie Hurkacz, Hugo Humbert, Carlos Alcaraz, got a couple of sets you might remember off Stefanos Tsitsipas, and now that victory over Jannik Sinner. So there's an awful lot of confidence, I think, in the Murray camp. He's got Esteban Carril in his box as a trial. There he is, the man himself. He, of course, was formerly working with Johanna Konta, did a test with Emma Raducanu, but now with Murray.
Quarter-final #3 here at the Stockholm Open. Andy Murray will take on Tommy Paul for a place in the last 4. A meeting with Francis Tiafoe. Interesting that Murray elected to serve first against Jannik Sinner last evening, having won the toss, which I thought was an indication that he was feeling very good about his prospects. He wasn't tempted to maybe just take a game to have a look at Sinner's serve. He backed himself to get the early hold, which he achieved, and he never really looked back.
And it's been the opposite in the first 2 matches today, Phil. Both people won the toss, elected to receive.
Yeah, it's generally been the way, hasn't it, this week, which I thought made it quite notable for Murray to say, no, I'm going to get in front. And he stayed in front.
And he faced 1 break point, I believe.
Yes, and he also recovered from missing a golden chance for a double break at the back end of set 2, which could have thrown him a bit, but it didn't. Anyway, here he goes. Seems to have a real groove on that first serve. He was serving well yesterday. His percentage wasn't great. It was around about the late 40s, 50%, but the key was that he was able to deliver the big serves at important moments.
Yeah, all the greats can really pick their moments. He's talked about, Phil, a 16-year plus career in which he's only played 4 or 5 perfect matches that he can remember. And just a matter of making sure at the middle level he's winning, and when he doesn't play well, he's still winning, and he's started to manage to do that once again, just like in his heyday.
featuring in just his second quarter-final of the year, having got that far in Metz. Also indoors, of course. Currently ranked at 143, Candy, but I mean, if he can win this title, and obviously there's an awful lot to do still for him, he could be knocking on the door of getting back inside the top 100 in time for the start of the new season.
And that would mean, of course, for the slams, he doesn't have to rely on any more wild cards.
Yeah, I think he's probably a shoe-in to get one in Melbourne if he requires it, given he's a 5-time finalist. But clearly Murray's goal now, having proved to himself that he can still mix it with the very best in the world, is to get that ranking right back up into the highest echelons, fitness allowing.
Biggest crowd we've seen, I think, this week, Phil.
Yeah, they were buzzing last evening for Murray's match with Sinner, and it's going to be very similar, isn't it, tonight? So Murray holds from 15-30. Certainly looking in great physical condition. He's always been a tremendous worker off the court on his fitness, and of course his whole game style is built around fitness, his tremendous defensive skills. The other thing that he said, Candy, which I thought was interesting, was that when he first got back on the tour, and indeed in matches this year, he had a tendency to alter his game style to try and shorten the points because he thought that was the best way to preserve his body. But what he's actually discovered now is that he's more likely to kill matches off more quickly if he plays to his strengths, which is the longer rallies, you know, being willing to tough it out from the baseline, which of course is what he did last night. There was some bruising exchanges with Sinner, but he won in straight sets. And
we've seen a few of those matches, haven't we? Straight sets or 3-set wins, but well over 3 hours. He's happy just to stay and grind out. And eventually, like Sinner yesterday, at the end there, he just looked very fatigued. The mental battle for Murray was definitely won. There's something about going on court against someone like Murray, just knowing you're going to have to put it all out there. And that in itself gives the likes of Murray a huge advantage right away.
Not that Tommy Paul lacks for fitness. He's in tremendous condition. He showed that with some of his retrieving against Fritz. He's also the younger man by a decade. Semi-finals in Parma on the clay this year. Quarter-finals indoors in Rotterdam. The 4th round in Indian Wells a couple of weeks back. Beat Rublev along the way. Lost to Cam Norrie. The eventual winner. And that was a confident riposte from the American. So on terms after a couple of games.
Yeah, and testing at the USTA National Campus in Florida, Tommy Paul mostly comes out on top, best VO2 max. And that's coming from Jim Courier, because Courier used to be coached by Brad Stein, who looks after Tommy Paul these days. So fitness won't be in question. Perhaps more mental fortitude might be.
Oh, very nearly great. Just missed the sideline.
What was the angle before on the forehand, which was so superb from Murray. It took Tommy Paul right out of the court, but the American was so quick to banana that forehand round, and then a really nice slice. Had a lot of powder on it, forced the Z error, although it was a good attempt from Murray.
Bit of pressure though, at love 30. He was able to defend his second serve very well against Sinner, which is something he struggled a bit with in his first match against Jurasevic.
Jurasevic had an awful lot of power, didn't he, in the second set particularly. He was just going for his shots, and Murray found that pretty hard to deal with. In the end, though, the qualifier from Norway just missed a few from inside the baseline. That proved to be the difference, Murray going through in straight sets. That is great defense. That shows you how well he's moving. Often moving out to the right is the harder one, because you're actually planting yourself slightly left of the baseline when you're rallying, looking for the backhand cross court. That one is a tough move, and it was brilliant.
Far away. Murray again threatening to turn a precarious position into a winning point, but he's missed the sideline.
We're talking of brilliant. The return was from Tommy Paul. The double down the line, return down the line, backhand down the line. Crowd already enjoying this very much.
So a break point for the American. He's nailed that one inside in. And so Murray's serve is breached early in this opening set. Tommy Paul taking advantage of the Murray second serve and getting the early edge in set one. 2-1 with a break. So advantage the American. Tommy Paul applying pressure in both Andy Murray's service games. Murray hanging on from 15-30 down in his first, but succumbing in the second. Paul taking advantage of the Murray second serve with a big forehand winner inside in. So an early test for Murray. He was talking extremely positively in the wake of his victory over Jannik Sinner. It's coming, he said, as regards his return to the sharp end of the rankings, currently at 146. But it's back-to-back victories that have been an issue for Murray this year. He's managed two this week. Can he manage a third? Paul has other ideas. Very positive play, isn't it? How well did he move up to that ball? And the confident drive volley put away.
He's seeing the ball really early. You can just see by his movement as well. He knows exactly when he's hit a good shot, and that's the time to come in. Picks his spot with the drive volley.
A very confident start. It looks as though Paul is very much embracing this opportunity to have a crack at Murray for the first time.
It's the backhand down the line from Tommy Paul that did the damage against Taylor Fritz. Right now it's looking like the forehand which is the weapon.
An impressive start from Tommy Paul. Clearly no respecter of reputation by the standards of this opening salvo from him. The break backed up. Murray with some early thinking to do at 1-3 in the first set.
Tommy Paul so far perfect behind that first serve, 6 from 6. And Esteban Carril watching on with interest. They're on a trial week. So far, so good. Perhaps Tommy Paul, though, will throw a spanner in the works. He's been exceptional. The movement has been first class.
Talk about Murray's movement, but Paul covers so much ground, doesn't he?
by his own admissions, Tommy Paul used to be a bit of a party boy. He had a very good junior career, sort of lost his way in the transition. Had a bit too much fun off the court. And perhaps those fancy feet from all that dancing in nightclubs has helped.
Maybe.
Working hard, he says, on the court. You can see that.
Learned his trade, Paul, on the clay courts of North Carolina. And it paid off when he won the Junior French Open title, beating compatriot Taylor Fritz.
Oh, superb. Wasn't the best approach shot from Tommy Paul, but he read Andy Murray like a book, moved the right way. Slice stayed low, a little unlucky because it hit the net tape, so it did jump up, but the volley winner was superb. He could do it all, and that's something he's been working on. Coming to the net a little bit more, being a bit more aggressive. Still has not got an ATP Tour title, and that's the next goal.
Murray just having to weather this storm at the moment. Paul has started so well. To Murray to stay in contention by ensuring he doesn't fall the double break down.
I think we've got a crying baby in the stands, something Andy Murray should probably be used to by now.
I was going to say, that shouldn't faze him, should it? Best drop shot from Paul, but Murray unable to make him pay.
Yeah, when you go cross-court on the drop shot, really need to keep it a little bit lower than Paul did. Murray, you can see, sees it, and there he goes. Wasn't able to control it, and it wasn't overly complicated. This is why he's still out here, though. Loves the crowd. And loves the challenge.
Yeah, the matches that he played under the roof and under the lights at Wimbledon in the summer, those successive victories over Basilashvili and Oscar Otto were memorable occasions, electric inside centre court. Murray using the energy of the crowd to get out of sticky situations in both matches and come through before losing to Shapovalov. Clearly feels his game is in much better shape now than it was then. But up against it at the moment, nonetheless, game point to stay in touch.
Well, that's very clever from Tommy Paul. Just attacking when Murray wasn't ready. It's so easy as the server there, just to slightly look up, see what your opponent's doing rather than concentrate on the ball. And that's a troubling statistic for Murray, really struggling behind that second serve. I think that double fault fill came because of the wonderful return from Tommy Paul on the previous point. He knows Murray that he can't drop it short, and that just increases the pressure.
Exactly, he's been cranking it up, hasn't he? Tommy Paul has really put Murray under the cosh in these opening exchanges. And a chance for that double break, which would surely be decisive in this set. That might have just dribbled over, but happily for Murray, ended up still on Paul's side of the net, but bruising exchange again.
Crowd appreciation for a remarkable rally. 23 shots. Murray just hanging in there, running all over the place. Great forehand. You can see what Tommy Paul was trying to do there, create some angle. It's a difficult shot to pull off.
He is bossing proceedings at the moment. He's got Murray in all kinds of predicaments out there.
What a delightful rally and finish this was. Tommy Paul just seeing that Murray was out of position. Just changed the grip slightly. Great disguise. Perfect placement.
So, second break point for the double break. That'll make Murray feel better.
Well, I think this game is worth the price of admission alone. Superb stuff from both men. Andy Murray getting himself out of the way, creating lots of space to unfurl that inside out.
Paul going after everything. Looking to keep the pressure on Murray. But if he can survive this game, still time for him to work his way back into contention in this set. %38 at the moment on second serve, 3 out of 8. Clean, deep hitting from Paul. He's taking all the time away from Murray.
Second serve just too short, and again Tommy Paul is on it. It's a big ripper forehand down the line, and then beautiful, keeps moving through that ball. That's the key. Don't get up there and stop.
Murray's being given so little room to manoeuvre at the moment. Can't afford any unforced errors. One of the errors he has made have been forced by the quality of Paul's play. And of course there is a correlation, isn't there, when you're being pressurised as he is. Break point number 3. Seen too many errors like that from the American.
I think he was expecting the ball to kick up to his backhand. Slightly surprised when it came to the forehand and got that shot completely wrong. It's an absolute tussle of a game.
Break point number 4.
This time Tommy Paul opts for the safer option, just blocks the return back, but winds too much on that big forehand as this game ticks towards the 13-minute mark. This is vintage Murray. This is 2021 Murray. Loves a long match.
Brilliant. Again, just upping the pace in another lengthy exchange. And that made the difference. It allowed him to step into the court.
There were a few exchanges in that early part of the rally, Phil, where Murray was so far behind the baseline, you were just waiting for Tommy Paul to throw in another drop shot. He opted not, but he got his short ball in the end. Showing an awful lot of patience there.
It's like a mini match, this 5th game. Feels like a must-win for Murray, but he's break point down again.
A few problems with that toss.
There it is, finally the pressure told. Feels like the decisive moment of this set. Tommy Paul richly deserving his advantage at the moment. He's been outstanding. He leads with a double break, 4-1. Still to come, Arthur Rinderknecht of France against Denis Shapovalov, the defending champion. Seeded 3. Whoever wins that will be playing Felix Auger-Aliassime in the bottom section of the draw. The winner of this one to face Francis Tiafoe. Extraordinary match earlier, losing the first set to Dan Evans, the 4th seed, 6-1, and then conceding just 2 more games in coming through. Very interesting to see Murray's demeanour, very calm on court last evening, and he said after the match in his press conference that it's something he's been working on to try and internalise his emotions a bit more. It'll be interesting to see if he maintains that this evening, given the way things are going at the moment.
Well, he uses so much emotional energy, doesn't he, Andy Murray? He probably feels at this point in his career he needs to use a little bit less so he can do a little bit more on the court. Had that 3-hour match against Dominic Koepfer at the Paris Masters. 3 hour 45 minutes when he beat Francis Tiafoe in Antwerp. Hasn't really had any easy contests. By far the quickest was in this tournament's first round, Viktor Jurasevic. That match, just 1 hour and 37 minutes, which is very short for Andy Murray. He must have wondered what he was going to do with the rest of his day.
Well, the first set last evening against Sinner was 1 hour and a quarter. So Tommy Paul in complete control at the moment with a double break.
So good if you can get those returns as deep as that, especially towards the middle of the box where you're sort of handcuffing your opponent.
is a beauty. He's got plenty of support here. Willing Murray to make this first set a real contest.
Took that ball really early, and that's how he was able to create that remarkable angle. Tommy Paul considered his smash to be his favourite shot, and we just saw why. Tough man to lob.
Terrific stuff again from the American. Great hands, lovely angle there on the drop shot.
It's just winner after winner in this game. Good approach. It stayed low. It was deep as well, and that was better than it needed to be. Tremendous soft hands. Forced error there, definitely felt the ball was so deep into the Murray forehand.
That's been the theme, hasn't it? The weight and depth of Tommy Paul's ground strokes, putting a lot of pressure on Murray. As we've seen, adept when he's come up to the net as well. Drive volley winners, drop shot winners. It's been pretty much the perfect set to this point from the American. I think Murray will be hoping there's a bit of a drop off at some point. But he does love a challenge.
Well, that also was the perfect point. You could see him really get up to that return and then just dominate the point with his forehand before reading the short ball. And the knifed volley does the job.
First time Paul has been under any pressure on serve. He only dropped 1 point in his first couple of games. Not this time.
Murray fighting fire with fire. Just added a little bit more power on that forehand. And when Tommy Paul attempted the drop shot, the ball was fizzing at him a little bit quicker, I think, than he was expecting.
So Andy Murray's first break point of this quarter-final. It's a long way back, but he's got to start somewhere. And he's got one of them back. And a defiant shake of the racket from Murray, who's been a distant second best in the first section of this set, but has retrieved one of the two breaks.
Esteban Carril in his box. Seems a very calming figure. No Jamie Delgado this week, but Jamie is staying on board, even if Esteban gets hired on a permanent basis.
And that's exactly how Murray described his addition to his coaching staff, a calming influence.
A few Scottish fans in the supporters, or at least one.
I think a lot of the homegrown fans are Scottish fans this evening. Murray is popular wherever he plays.
As a fan, you know that you're going to get everything that Andy Murray has to give. Three major titles, of course, 2 Wimbledons and 2 Olympic gold singles medals.
And the first of those was arguably the most complete performance of his career. You mentioned, Candy, about how he talked about playing maybe 4 or 5 perfect matches. He blitzed Roger Federer. Of course, that was at Wimbledon as well, London 2012. And that was the forerunner for his first Grand Slam at the US Open. Showing some emotion there, though, at missing his serve. Second double fault. Having worked so hard to retrieve one of the breaks. Now in a bit of bother again on serve.
Didn't quite get his knees down on that shot. It's quite a tricky shot. You have to get very low, nice loose wrists. Or of course the slice, slightly easier shot.
First serve percentage at the moment, an okay 63, better than yesterday against Sinner.
He's done it again, this time on the forehand side, just didn't quite get up to the ball. Of course, on that approach shot, the aim is to keep the ball low, so your opponent has to hit up, but just got the execution slightly wrong, didn't quite move through the ball.
More break points then for Paul to retrieve that second break and get the chance to serve for this set.
Mr. Murray changing the ball. Right fast side line, the ball was on fault.
He's just having to work so hard, isn't he, on his service games?
So, a rather scratchy service game from Murray, having worked so hard to get himself back in with a shout in this set. Tommy Paul now will be serving for it at 5-2. Murray was outstanding last evening in defeating the top seed Yannick Sinner, but at the moment Tommy Paul is proving to be an even tougher proposition. He's played outstandingly well, the American, in the first set, hitting his ground strokes with great depth and authority, using his terrific athleticism to get up the court and kill the point at the net when the opportunity allows itself, not allowing Murray any room to breathe. And although he was broken back, of course he'd already got 2 service breaks under his belt, and now Candy's got 2 again, serving for this set at 5-2.
Well, Tommy Paul has just been unbelievably good. He's moving well, he's striking the ball well, arm is very, very loose, he's not intimidated. He knows this crowd want Murray to win. He himself called Murray an absolute legend. But that makes a potential win here even bigger for Tommy Paul, trying to get back inside the top 50. Got that backhand down the line completely wrong. Requires a lot of footwork on that shot. You've got to line up really your right shoulder with where you're going to hit the ball. Didn't get the shoulder turn nor the footwork right.
So after 45 minutes, Tommy Paul with the chance to close this first set out against the former world number 1. That's pretty much the perfect set from Tommy Paul. He could not have played much better. Outstanding stuff against an in-form Andy Murray. 6-2 after 3/4 of an hour.
Well, let's have a look at the numbers from that first set. Dominated very much by the American Tommy Paul after 45 minutes. And he was able to break 3 times. Murray did get 1 back, but got broken back straight away. Tommy Paul only losing 7 points behind his own serve. Well, that was very much not the case for Andy Murray. Behind the first serve alone, he only won 11 of his 23 deliveries. Behind the second, it was worse, behind just 5 of 14. So Murray must do a better job behind his serve in this second set if he's going to get to his second semi-final of the season.
Andy Murray has been embroiled in some true marathon matches in recent times. He's going to have to do it the hard way this evening. Tommy Paul putting together a quite outstanding set. 6 games to 2, 3 breaks of serve to 1. How is Murray going to respond now in the second set? First meeting between them.
Needed one more step around that ball. Got himself into a place he wanted to be. Short forehand.
Murray was asked about Tommy Paul in his post-match on-court interview last evening, and obviously they haven't played before. He said he likes what he's seen of him. He may not like it quite so much now, having been on the wrong end of it in that first set at close quarters.
And that's just going to be absolutely imperative in this second set, especially in the early stages after being broken 3 times and really having his serve torn apart by the American. It's essential that Murray not only gets a lot of first serves in, but really hits his spots. As long as he's not on the defensive right away, he can go toe-to-toe with the American.
Yes, exactly what was required by Murray. A strong start to set 2, a love hold. He's had to work exceptionally hard in his service games in the first set. Breached 3 times, but he's got off on the right foot in this second. Francis Tiafoe, of course, awaiting the winner, fresh from his victory over Murray's compatriot Dan Evans. And they've played a couple of times in the last couple of months, including that marathon in Antwerp. Again, very quick to get on the front foot, isn't he, Paul? He's been so aggressive in his game style.
And moving back for that smash just shows exactly how athletic this young man is. It was a decent volley. It got Andy Murray moving back behind, and a great leap to finish it off. Murray, of course, only won his serve once in that first set. That was in the very first game.
Another perfect play. Serve out wide, setting up the easy put away to the open court. From Paul's point of view, it's just a case of more of the same, isn't it? Maintaining these standards if he can. And if he does, he's going to take a lot of beating.
Murray trying to keep his frustrations in check.
So a couple of love holds at the start of this set.
Another excellent use of the court. Tommy Paul really stretching out his 34-year-old opponent. This backhand did the job, got Murray right out of position.
Hard to see right now how Murray's going to wrest the momentum back in this match. He needs Paul's level to drop. Do no wrong at the moment. Oh, once again, Murray dropping a bit short and Paul onto it in a blur.
The power he can generate, it's just such a lovely loose arm, isn't it? The Paul forehand uses his whole body, 140 kilometers an hour, right in the corner.
Murray's first serve stats going the wrong way at the moment, down to 59% from the lowish 60s in the first set.
He did really well there because it was a very good deep return right into the cage, i.e. back into the feet of the server. Murray just handled it really well.
Murray has always been very good at channeling the energy of a crowd. He proved that again at Wimbledon this summer. He could do with a bit of that now. They're certainly behind him. Game point. Groans from this Stockholm audience as Murray finds the net.
Probably a few in the crowd trying to blow that ball over, give him a bit of help. Quite getting his feet in position there, Tommy Paul. You can see sort of had one foot up in the air when he hit it.
He's got a pretty good returning record. Paul, his career Stands at 22% return games won. That's better than many near the top of the game. Murray, of course, outstanding in that department, well into the 30s, and that's a morale-boosting hold for him. He's having to work very hard, though, to keep Tommy Paul at bay here. But he's in front on serve in the second set. House this evening for Andy Murray's bid to make the semi-finals of an ATP World Tour event. The first time since he got that far in Antwerp on his way to his most recent title. His 46th of his stellar career a couple of years ago. But standing in his way is the formidable obstacle of Tommy Paul, who's been quite outstanding so far. Murray having to work hard once again in this set, having been comprehensively outplayed in the first, to hang on to his 2 service games, but he's done that. So leading 2-1. Paul with the first set so impressively by 3 breaks of serve to 1. With France's TFO conqueror earlier, Dan Evans awaiting the winner in the semi-finals on Friday. Still to come, Denis Shapovalov against Rinderknecht in the final quarter-final. Winner of that to play Felix Auger-Aliassime or Van der Zandschulp, or rather Felix Auger-Aliassime beat Van der Zandschulp earlier on today in straight sets.
Mr. Bond, change the ball on the right center side. The ball was pulled.
So good, isn't he, at moving up the court, not afraid to get on the front foot.
Just feels it off his racket. He knows when he's hit a great shot. He knows when he's got his opponent running or off balance. The rest is relatively easy.
Of course, he beat Taylor Fritz in the previous round. I reckon if you could fuse the two together, you'd have one hell of a player. Fritz's firepower, Paul's aggression, movement, game style.
And then it's just about the mental strength, isn't it? If that was thoroughly embraced, and we haven't seen Tommy Paul in the latter stages of big tournaments yet. See how he handles it. Nor Taylor Fritz. It's an ambition for both of them.
This time, though, the pass is too strong for Paul to handle.
Brilliant use of the wrist there from Andy Murray. That requires amazing feel on the ball. He knows he's got to keep the ball down low. And look at that. That is so hard to do, Phil. You could spend 30 years practicing that shot and you wouldn't get it down.
from Murray. Paul has only lost 3 points, make it 4 now behind his second serve. Murray has lost 12.
Paul has a very good loose kick serve on the second.
Just waiting for Murray to make his move across the baseline, tucking it in behind him. Another very solid game from Tommy Paul. Murray doing everything in his power to try and wrest back the initiative here. That wonderful pass got him back into contention, but Paul holding firm for 2-all. Esteban Khalil not giving much away facially.
I think he's probably saying to himself, "This Tommy Paul, he's quite a good player."
He really is.
What a point, Andy Murray on his knees. Just incredible. Earlier in the point, there was that sort of three-quarter volley from down by the feet from Tommy Paul. There it is. That seemed to be the gap, but Tommy Paul didn't take advantage. Andy Murray stays in it, and then it's a forehand mistake from Tommy Paul to finish it. Another incredible point.
Called out. It was a late call. To the naked eye, I must admit, I thought it looked good. We'll find out.
I think Tommy Paul agrees with you, Phil. I think he was having a quick word with the linesperson.
Normally a late call indicates some degree of doubt. Wow. Just shaving the back of the line.
99% out, there's 1% in. That's a shame for Murray, because Tommy Paul was very much on the back foot. Not even he could take that one out of the air. Tommy Paul forehand getting up to 90 miles an hour plus 154 kilometers an hour. Just an acceleration of racket speed. Oh, it's a crackerjack of a return. Look how close to that ball Tommy Paul was. Made a really big explosive move inside the baseline.
hasn't been remotely intimidated, has he? He talked about Murray as being, as you mentioned, an absolute legend, but he's not treating him like one.
No respect these days from the youngers.
Exactly. Sheer determination and guts are allowing Murray to stay in contention here at the moment. And of course, that's exactly what you'd expect of him.
All eyes on Andy Murray. Crowd fascinated by the Brit.
And his almost miraculous comeback from 2 hip surgeries. The very fact that he's out here competing at this level defies belief, really.
Does an enormous amount of work when he's home with his strength and conditioning coach, Matt Little. Constantly in communication.
So, game point to move back in front on serve. Could have done without that very faint let cord.
Well, that forehand was so big that it took Andy Murray's hat off.
Juice.
Perfect placement from Tommy Paul.
Paul continuing to try and apply as much pressure as he can, giving Murray no room to rest, but this time Murray comes out on top, courtesy of a typically adept little lob.
We know he's a brilliant doubles player, and that was a really good touch. Just got it up and over.
Well, it was unorthodox, but ultimately effective. Thought Murray's initial volley might come back to bite him. You've got to admire this guy's heart. It's extraordinary. 3-2, second set.
Murray leads 3-2.
Andy Murray straining every sinew to stay in the hunt for a semi-final here at the Stockholm Open in the face of an outstanding performance so far from the world number 52 and formerly world number 50, Tommy Paul, who played an outstanding first set and has continued to pressurise Andy Murray in the second. But Murray's held firm on serve, leading 3-2. Can he find a way back into this match? You would not bet against him. You can never write Murray out of things.
Just have very high standards. Deep backhand miss, mainly because of a very good Tommy Paul shot, again deep with heavy spin on it. Just needs a slight drop in standards from Tommy Paul. Tommy Paul very much struggling to get his first serve in.
Yeah, he felt like there needed to be a dip in Paul's game for Murray to get himself right back in the mix here, and there has been, as you say, on serve when he was in the high 60s on his first serve percentage. Murray getting a look at rather more second serves now, down at less than 30%. Is a chance for Murray to get himself in front in a set for the first time in terms of a break.
And Tommy Paul relying on too many second serves. It's come back to haunt him. As Murray's got a chance. He has broken already once. Got it in the first set. He knows he can do it, and he'll need Tommy Paul to miss another first serve.
Oh, we'll play the point, presumably.
13-40.
Which means, of course, Tommy Paul gets another first serve. That's not going to improve Murray's state of mind, but he's still got a break point opportunity.
That was such a deep shot. Would have put Murray in pole position.
Down at 27% now in this set. first serve percentage.
Second serve. Left. Second serve.
It's wide. Murray has the breakthrough. No question that Tommy Paul's level has dipped. Murray has stuck in there and he's been rewarded for the time being. And he's now in front with the break.
All to do with that first serve percentage. Tommy Paul just relying too much on the second serve. And it gets a little bit predictable. Andy Murray was having no trouble getting it back. And Tommy Paul wasn't able to get onto his front foot like he's had so much success in doing in this match for a set and a half. Big moment for Murray. He's got the chance he wanted. Just stayed very patient.
Crowd enjoyed that. Perfectly executed serve volley.
And now it's Tommy Paul's time to try and change this up a little bit. Such a good returner.
Feels as though that break of serve for Murray, and yes, although he did get one in the first set, he was already 2 breaks behind, has just given him a new lease of life. Extra belief that he can turn this match in his favour now.
Great backhand from Tommy Paul. We saw him do that an awful lot against Taylor Fritz. Hit the ball off his left foot on the slide. Probably goes back to his upbringing on the North Carolina clay. Big response from Paul. Not afraid to take that ball early, step in, drive it cross court. See what comes next. Massive point here, Phil.
Yeah, Murray working so hard to get the advantage. Can he consolidate it? 30-all, 4-2. Oh, he's missed a half-volley pickup.
Well, full credit to Andy Murray, because that was an incredibly difficult shot. He was under extreme pressure. He knew that Paul would be coming up to the net. And Paul, who didn't miss anything in the first set, slightly faltering.
So Murray does back up the break. And it looks at the moment as though we're going to need a final set to determine who plays Frances Tiafoe in the semi-finals on Friday. Murray, defiant, 5-2 up. Andy Murray, as he has done so often in his career, has dug deep and dragged himself back into contention in a match where he was being handsomely outplayed for a set by Tommy Paul. He was quite outstanding. I suppose when you play as well as Paul did, there's only one way to go, and his level has dropped. Specifically, his first serve percentage has really plummeted, and that's allowed Murray many more second serves, which in turn has allowed him to get engaged in rallies and get on the front foot more often, and that all adds up to a 5-2 advantage. It's just the one break, but Paul's serving now to save the set. And we weren't seeing mistakes like that in the first one. Just feels as though his intensity levels have dropped a little. Perhaps that's inevitable from the very high level he produced initially.
That is just incredible from Andy Murray. That high backhand volley, one of the hardest in the books. And just look at the touch he provides. It's sumptuous.
An artist with racket in hand. Back comes Paul with an aggressive play of his own as he looks to ask the question of Murray, forcing him to serve it out.
Both players certainly having their purple patches. Using the margins a little bit more, Tommy Paul, after a loose forehand earlier in this game. Once you get your opponent off balance like that, the point is generally yours. Good try from Tommy Paul, but excellent touch from Andy Murray. Taking a glimpse up at his box, Esteban Carrel, for some reassurance that all is going well, but it's much smoother now, isn't it, in the Murray camp? He's certainly turned the tables in this set.
2 points from levelling up, potentially.
Mr. Ball, challenge the ball. 5-7, the ball was on full.
So it will be a second serve. Another one for Murray to have a look at.
Oh, that is terrific. Went for the wide serve. Phil mixed it up on the second serve because he's been giving Andy Murray too many looks at exactly the same ball, having missed his first serve so many times. It was a bit of a kamikaze approach, but he got away with it thanks to that explosive movement at the net. Terrific little drop volley.
And again, great hands from Paul. And so now comes the moment of truth for Murray. He's battled his way back into this match. He's one service hold away from forcing a one-set shootout for a place in the last 4. The crowd absolutely engrossed in this. We've seen some terrific tennis. Murray growing into the contest after a rather chastening opening. But we know he's full of confidence about the state of his game right now, about his prospects with the new season in mind, about his ability to get up amongst the game's elite once more, and he's shown why he believes that. Serving for the set.
Murray seemed to have Tommy Paul on the ropes. The American just making a little misstep on the backhand there. Andy Murray furious, he netted that backhand in return.
Yep, and the service hold from Paul magnified now in its significance, of course, with Murray having a lot to do now to serve this out, a love 30.
This time Paul doing the damage with the backhand, really getting Andy Murray on the move.
That's what you want, isn't it, when you're serving for a set? Get some cheap points, get that first serve in.
I wonder who he wants to win. Not sitting on the fence, that fan.
So 15-30, second serve.
First sign of real frustration from Tommy Paul, missing that return. Chose to move round it and hit a backhand. Got a little bit close to it.
Just good enough from Murray on the backhand volley to bring up the opportunity to take this match the distance. Still not a flicker of emotion from his new coach. Set point. Tommy Paul goes long. Andy Murray wins 4 points on the spin from love 30. He has battled his way back into contention here. And a first semi-final on tour for a couple of years remains within his sights. We're going the distance after an hour and 37. It's 1-set-all.
Well, it was Andy Murray struggling with his first serve and points behind it in the first set, but it all changed around in that second set. Andy Murray breaking for a 4-2 lead as the Tommy Paul first serve percentage just plummeted. When he did get it in, he was successful, but he didn't get it in enough. And Andy Murray held on to that one break to take it on his first set point, 6-3. Just remarkable mental strength and a desire to stay in this match and fight for only his second semi-final since 2019. We've got a real battle on our hands now as we go to the third.
Well, the crowd have got what they wanted, a deciding set. Lots of Andy Murray fans in the house that have been mighty impressed with the calibre of tennis Tommy Paul brought to the court in that first set, but no doubt his level dropped quite appreciably in the second. But of course a lot of that has to be down to Andy Murray just refusing to wilt. Unrivaled determination and fight in Murray, looking to make the most of every day of what remains of his career, which is clearly still something of an unknown for him given the injury travails he's experienced. But right now he's looking in great physical nick. You can't play the way he has and play the length of matches he has in recent times without being so. Drenched in sweat, He's got great hands, hasn't he, the American? Very comfortable at the net.
All that hard work he's put into that aspect of his game with Coach Brad Stein certainly paying off. He's been tremendous when he's got forward.
And that was what Tommy Paul needed, really, after the disappointment of the second set, where he just lost his way a little. An emphatic hold at the start of this decider, just to rejuvenate.
Yeah, it was that sixth game, wasn't it, in the second set, which was Tommy Paul's undoing. Couldn't buy a first serve. And Andy Murray struck.
Their first ever meeting, and it's proved to be already a memorable one.
Tommy Paul, Phil, has come to the net 32 times and has won 27 of them.
Outstanding stats, aren't they?
That was such a clever point. Two really deep shots. And then Murray just changed it up with the heavy topspin, short and angled. And the rhythm of Paul was completely ruined there. Have a look at this. Gets that one back. And then Murray goes for the shorter ball. You could see Paul moving forward on the diagonal, but didn't really get his feet right. Murray using his intelligence so well.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Both coaches looking extremely calm, despite what they must be feeling inside.
A little uttering of "come on" under his breath there, Paul. I think he's aware that he's just not quite playing as he was in that opening set. He'll be extremely aware of Murray's tenacity and resilience right on the edge of the line.
And his ability to hit the edge of the line.
Well, he knew he was playing a legend, and now he's feeling it down there. Murray's never say die approach coming to the fore. He was comprehensively outplayed in the first set. But now the balance of power is rather different. Murray looking good.
Young fan wanting his large tennis ball signed is going to have to wait, I think, an awful lot longer. how about that for a point? Simply superb. Murray paints the line. Tommy Paul paints the line in response. Slightly with his weight going backwards. Wasn't an orthodox shot, but he got away with it. And then again, finishes off at the net. Little lucky, but they all count.
They were finding the lines earlier this evening. He was hitting winners for fun.
It's a slight footwork issue. Not quite balanced and in control. Much easier tennis when you're on the front foot as opposed to the back foot.
Recovered pretty well, didn't he? Off aggressive return from Murray. So hangs on to his serve, moves in front in this decider, 2-1. Quite a tough one to call at the moment, isn't it, Candy? Tommy Paul's so good in the first set. Murray using his trademark tenacity to work his way back in, and now it's all up for grabs.
Just 1 point against serve in the first 3 games of this second set. Just have to really put your money on Murray, because he knows how to come out of these matches where at the higher level Tommy Paul a little bit untested. I think Murray's got a dose of the Nadals, getting those bottles right. But who would bet against Andy Murray? The mental discipline is just unbelievable, and the desire right up there too.
Fascinating match underway here. Tommy Paul bossing the first set, Andy Murray finding a way back in the second. And we're on serve in the early stages of the third. This big crowd here in Stockholm. The Kungliga Tennis Hall and the Royal Tennis Hall are lapping it up. And we've still got another match still to come, of course. Rinderknech against Shapovalov, the defending champ, to determine the last semi-final spot. Felix Auger-Aliassime awaiting the winner of that one. Francis Tiafoe, fresh from his win over Dan Evans earlier. Waiting to see who will come through this one.
Please give quick listeners or take a seat, please. Thank you.
Sweetly struck off forehand, right on the sideline. one
Good
stage
indication. Yeah, sorry,
I was
Phil.
going to say, at one stage it was Paul who was almost exclusively the aggressor, but that's changed now. That was more like the first set.
Fantastic from Paul, backhand up the line, and then just that injection of pace. It's just the loose arm of the American, just astounding how he's able to generate such power. It's the opposite of muscling it over.
Paul turning up the heat again here, perhaps sensing an opportunity to score the all-important first break of this decider.
Murray has got to try and keep the ball away from that forehand because it's so explosive. And Paul does not miss smashes. Brilliant point in so many ways. Goes to the Paul forehand first, drags him out wide. Then he's got some space to go into the backhand. That's where he gets his short ball. And then the delicate touch to finish it off. He's a real thinking man's player. Andy Murray led him to so much success.
Oh, this time he's missed it, and he's barely missed one today. Set the point up as he so often has, getting Murray on the defensive, and you would have put your mortgage on that volley finding the court. It didn't.
Perhaps you haven't got a mortgage, Phil.
Well, probably not, given what he's earning.
That was probably the easiest volley that Tommy Paul has had to date, and that's the measure of this occasion, dragging it wide.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? The pressure's really on now. But it was a big let off for Murray, who would have been break point down as it is. He comes up with a big serve to hold on and level again in this decider, this ever more intriguing quarter-final.
Nearing the 2-hour mark. No, I very much doubt this is going to get past the 3-hour 45 marathon match of Murray and TFO. We will, of course, have a tie-break if it does go to 6-all.
Yeah, we might get that tomorrow, of course, if Murray comes through with TFO waiting in the wings. But Tommy Paul still very involved here. It's been very noticeable, I think, this week from Murray that when he has been frustrated and he's want to vent some emotion, it has been very much at himself. In the past, we've seen him spend that emotion in the direction of his box, but he's not doing that this week.
Perhaps Esteban Carril won't sign on for a second week. Nothing Andy Murray could do about that. Perfection from Tommy Paul. Well, that wasn't any good either.
So
just showed Tommy Paul exactly the shot he didn't want to get.
Yeah, it's another comfortable hole for the American as he moves back in front here. Still on serve in the final set. The stats tell us, Candy, that there isn't a great deal of difference in whether you serve first or second in a decider, but psychologically it feels like there's a difference, doesn't it, when you're playing catch-up?
Absolutely, it's all about the psychology behind it. When you're serving first, even if you were to be broken, you know you've still got a chance because you can try and break right back. But if you're always coming from behind, it's just such a battle, especially if the serve is winning relatively easy, which was happening at the beginning of the set, not so in that last game. Getting a little bit tougher for Tommy Paul.
I mean, that's the point, isn't it? When you get to 4-5 as the guy serving second, then you know that one more error and you're gone, and 5-6 is the same, whereas if you're serving first, as you say, you get that lifeline. Well, it's thoroughly compelling fare here as we wait to see who will emerge from our third quarter-final at the Stockholm Open. Tommy Paul bossing the first set, Andy Murray fighting back to win the second, and the decider remains in the balance. We're still on serve. Murray at 2-3 in their first ever meeting. I think Murray will have been mightily impressed by what he's seen from Tommy Paul at close quarters. Certainly seems to have the game to go a good deal higher than his career high of 50 achieved in the summer, currently at 52. But can he get the better of, in his words, an absolute legend? Murray, 2-3. Francis Tiafoe to play the winner in the last four tomorrow.
Still just 2 points lost behind the Murray serve. For Paul, it's even better, just one. But the points are getting longer and certainly more competitive.
Oh. That was a scorcher.
So many smashes he's had to hit today, and they've all been right on the money. Just that one loose volley on the Andy Murray serve last time out was a mistake for Paul. Otherwise, a good beginning to the third set.
Apologies for the industrial language there. Murray's first serve percentage currently at 54 in this deciding set.
That's a big chance for Paul. Just slightly came up on the ball too early at the crucial moment, and he made it. We'd have 2 break points as it is, back to 30 all.
That's a terrific forehand, wasn't it? At a crucial moment.
Amazing that his feet are still working so well. After all this time, just gets out of the way of that beautifully, creates lots of space for the angle.
Murray continuing to show terrific tenacity and determination. Things were looking precarious again at love 30. It was nearly a break point down in his previous service game, but he's emerged unscathed to stay in touch in this decider.
A few words of encouragement from Esteban Carril. He looks decidedly squished on that seat now. That's how full the crowd are. Perched right on the end of that seat.
Oh, wow. That ball turned left off the net, landed in.
Winning 100% behind that first serve, thanks on that occasion to a very fortunate let cord. He has still only lost 1 point behind his serve.
It's been a very familiar play, hasn't it? The speed at which he gets up the court when he realises that he's got the depth, the penetration off that forehand, and almost invariably he's triumphed at the net with the volley.
Well, the level of this match, Phil, has just gone up a couple of notches. Both players just exceptional. Murray running that down. Wasn't that a good volley from Tommy Paul? First serve percentage has been far higher in this third set.
That was a big reason why Murray was able to work his way back in, wasn't it? He was operating at around 30% in terms of first serves landed in that second set. Murray able to get into the rallies more, get on front foot more than he was in the first when he was chasing shadows.
40-50.
Murray with just his second point behind the second serve of Paul. Still hasn't been able to penetrate the first serve.
No question that Paul is holding with more comfort than Murray in this decider, but still no breakthrough, no break points. Paul 4-3.
Any thoughts on your mortgage?
Well, I'm glad I didn't put it on that volley, obviously. Otherwise, I'd be in deep financial straits right now. It's like in a chemist out there, isn't it, with all of those bottles? That's the word I was looking for. All kinds of various
potions,
lotions and potions.
If it were Riley Opelka, they'd be scattered around him.
If it were Rafa Nadal, they'd be strategically positioned like a chessboard. Kasparov or Karpov. Well, there's a real vibe about the place, and no wonder they're thoroughly engaged in this roller coaster of a match. Tommy Paul very much on top in the first set. Andy Murray dragging himself back into contention in the second, and the third very much in the balance. Still no break points. Murray having to dig a little deeper to hold on to his serves in this set, but of course he's never lacked in that department. Resilience par excellence. So Murray at 3-4. Murray's actually only lost 1 point behind his second serve in this set.
First point of the game, usually so important. It's Tommy Paul who strikes first. Got Andy Murray on the run, and he just can't quite flick the ball over those loose wrists. First serve percentage of Murray dipping below the 50 mark.
Paul was in the low 30s, even the high 20s in the second set in terms of his first serve. A little distracted, so resets. Well, he does like a smash, and even the backhand overhead, which is arguably the toughest shot in the game, slam dunked away.
Well, how about that for Athletic?
15.
All the numbers are actually on Tommy Paul's favour, Phil. Service points 1. He has more. Return points 1. He has more. Total points 1. Tommy Paul with 59% compared to Murray's 41%, but yet still neck and neck.
Another important first serve landed for Murray. His percentage hasn't been dazzling this week, but he has been able to land them more often than not in clutch moments. And at 15-33-4, that's about as significant as it gets at this stage of the match. Do with a couple more, though.
Thank you.
The crowd understandably getting overexcited out there.
What a return from Tommy Paul. The forehand down the line was just exceptional. He still had work to do. Murray not giving up. But he ran him from corner to corner until the job was done.
And so, the first break point of the deciding set at a crucial juncture. Oh no, first double fault of the set. Calamitous way for Murray to give up his serve. So Tommy Paul, Murray visibly furious.
This is what I try to do, that's why I asked somebody to go.
Murray feeling that crowd control could have been stricter. There was a long gap, wasn't there, between him missing the first serve and delivering the ball on the second.
A noise coming from his right, and he stopped.
And the irony, of course, is that most of them are pulling for him.
Frustration slightly boiling over, while Tommy Paul has largely kept his cool.
Can Murray find it within him to turn this around from here?
If he doesn't, I feel Arnaud Gobat, our umpire today, is going to feel it a bit.
It's been a terrific match, and just threatening to end with a bit of a whimper here for Andy Murray. And yet, you can never count him out. But Paul 2 points away from what would be a great win for him. Yannick Sinner couldn't produce what was necessary. But it looks as though the world number 52 from the United States is going to. He played a quite magnificent first set. Dropped off a little in the second. Murray using his trademark tenacity to get himself back into contention. But it's Tommy Paul with 3 match points.
Still 100% behind the first serve in this set, 12 from 12.
Andy Murray's run here in Stockholm ends in the quarterfinals. Well played, Tommy Paul. A terrific performance from him. The first set was nigh on perfect. Murray congratulates him, burying for the moment his frustration. He's proved to himself in recent weeks that he still has what's necessary to get back to the top. But in 2 hours and 15, it's Tommy Paul's moment. 6-2, 3-6, 6-3. He's through to the semi-finals.
Brilliant from the 52-ranked American. The crowd were willing this man on, Andy Murray, who's still venting his frustration at Arnaud Gabat, French umpire today, whom he feels didn't quieten the crowd enough. Tommy Paul certainly quietened his opponent there with a crucial break in the 8th game. And that was very much a mental as well as physical battle for the American. And he came through it with flying colours, his tennis as bright as his shirt.
He described Andy Murray as an absolute legend, and it'll be an absolute thrill for him to have got the better of Murray tonight, who had a lot of support here and showed all of his usual character to make it a real contest when Paul was threatening to run away with it in straight. But ultimately it's the American who comes through.
You beat the former #1. How was it to play against him?
A lot of fun, man. He's a legend. I played some of my best tennis today. It was a lot of fun. I even looked over at my coach like mid-match. I was like, man, this is fun to play a battle with this guy.
You really managed to keep him running in the first set.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was the game plan. I know he had a long match yesterday. I saw him play. He played really well, and I mean, he's been running his whole career, but I was trying to make him run a little bit more today.
What went in your mind in the third?
I don't know, just stick to the important points. I mean, when you're playing a tight point, I mean, it's better to just stick to the game plan, and that's what I did today.
And now you're in the semi-final for the first time since Parma, Italy, this spring. How important is it for you to reach a semi-final again?
I'm very pumped. I mean, it's a big result for me. I'm playing Francis tomorrow, so that should be a fun one. He's a good friend of mine. We played many times throughout our tennis career, so it should be a fun one.
And an All-American semi-final against Francis Tiafoe. You lost a tight match against him in Delray Beach last year. What can you do tomorrow?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking for revenge, so hopefully I can bring my best tennis.
Thanks for tonight. See you tomorrow again. Tommy Paul.
He's an exciting talent. He brings a lot of game to the court. He's fun to watch, super aggressive in his game style. And you've got to think that he could go a good deal higher than his current ranking of 52. Well played, Tommy Paul. A thoroughly deserved win in 3 sets over the former world #1. And he can now look forward to the semi-finals and a showdown with compatriot Francis Tiafoe.
And Phil, he'll want to serve well, won't he? Served brilliantly in the first set. Won it 6-2. Served pretty badly by his own standards. In the second, lost it 6-3. And again, the serve was tremendous in the third. So 2 hours and 15 minutes on the clock. It's Tommy Paul who walks off. I'm sure he'll be in the ice bath getting ready for the match against Francis Tiafoe. And he's going to want to serve well tomorrow to beat his compatriot in the third set. He was 100% behind that first serve, really lifted it and broke in the 8th game. That was it in the third set. That was the crucial one. If he wins this tournament, he'll be up to the world number 43, and Tommy Paul is certainly getting closer. It was a brilliant performance.
It really was, and his reward, as stated, a meeting with Francis Tiafoe, the 8th seed, who won a curious battle earlier with Dan Evans, the 4th seed, losing the first set 6-1 and winning sets 2 and 3 by the same score. Felix Auger-Aliassime pretty comfortable against Botic van der Zandschulp, 4 and 3. So the only question to be answered on this 5th day in Stockholm is who he will play in the semi-finals on Friday. Will it be Arthur Rinderknech or Denis Shapovalov? So we've had 3 and we've got 1 still to come. Tiafoe through, Auger-Aliassime through, and now Tommy Paul joining them in the semi-finals with a 3-set victory over Andy Murray, who battled ultimately in vain, and he'll be having nightmares about that double fault at break point down, the only break of the set, and Paul going through at the expense of the former world number 1. So next up, Arthur Rinderknech of France against our defending champion Denis Shapovalov, the 3rd seeded Canadian, and they will be on court very shortly.